So here we are back at our masking and selection instruction. This is part 3 of a series about masking and selecting. In the first 2 videos, I talked about how to make a selection, how to save a selection, the relationship between quick mask and selection, and between save selection and alpha channels. And now we're going to talk about layer masks. But before we get to introduce layer masks, I wanted to show you a quick way to do the load selection. We've been using the select menu with load selection and going through that whole process. That's a little bit more involved than simply going over to the channels palette, holding down the command key on a Mac, and then clicking on the alpha channel with the selection. You can see right there. That's all it took in order to get those marching ants for the selection. Now let's talk about layer masks. Layer masks, also called transparency masks, because what it does to a normal layer is it blocks certain areas of the image from being visible and lets other areas of the image through. So first lesson there is that the background layer, the default background layer, cannot have a layer mask applied to it. So we need to convert this background layer into a real, honest-to-goodness layer. That's really easy to do in Photoshop. Double-click on background. That's on the word there, background. And it says new layer. You can give it a name, but I'm just going to say, okay, I always like layer 0. So now you can see this is layer 0 and this is an honest-to-goodness layer. Adding a layer mask is really easy. All you have to do is from the layers panel, click on the add layer mask button. And there you see we have instantly a layer mask. Notice over here is on the layer you see a representation of the alpha channel. Now this is not linked anymore to the alpha channel from our previous selection. Instead, what you'll see is in channels there is a new alpha channel called layer 0 mask. This works like any other alpha channel, so you can draw on it. And let's paint here. Let's paint out my eyes. There we go. And I can bring it back. Okay, so I'm painting on the layer mask there. See if I can turn it on. You can see there is a red tint to the mask as a guide. And I can turn off the RGB and look at the layer mask itself. It's a good way to find areas where perhaps there's some cleanup necessary. There we go. And this is where the real power of selecting and saving selections and masking comes in. It's because you can go now and paint on the mask after the fact at any point and make refinements. So let's say I'd like, this is a little too soft for me, so let's say I want to change that a bit. So let's I've got my brush selected, changing the size of it there by holding down the Control and Option keys on a Mac and then moving it right to left. So I have a nice hard edge. Let's make it soft, just a hair soft. There we go, just like that. And now I'm going to paint with white because I want to reveal more of this. So So there you see I'm getting more of my face. Obviously too much was taken away there. Now let me go a little too far. And we can see there's where the background is. So I'm going to go up here and reveal a little bit of background all along. Okay, switch over to black now and come back in and get rid of that background. And at any point you can fix mistakes or make changes, and that is a really cool thing about masks. It's 12 o'clock apparently. So making good selections here and painting appropriately on these masks is key to believability of images that involve masking. So really spend an appropriate amount of time working on the mask for your image so it's believable. Okay, and see it. I'm looking at the ear here and it's a little choppy, and if I weren't doing this just for a demo, then I would go in there and clean that up some more. But let me dismiss that mask there. You might reasonably ask the question, well, why on earth do we really need masks? What is this used for besides compositing? Obviously, doing some compositing, adding a new background here, adding or removing elements from other images. Those things are clearly the territory of masks. But where else can masks be used? Oops. Let's let me get rid of that there. I'm just going to grab onto the mask itself and drag that down to the trash. Ask me if I want to apply it, and I don't, so I'm just going to delete it. Okay, mask is gone. Let's add let's say hue and saturation. Okay, and in the hue and saturation layer, I'm going to, take that saturation all the way down to a black and white image. And I'm going to make it a little bit darker there. Okay. Let me load that selection in real quick. Again, by holding down the Command key and clicking on the alpha channel. And then you see this, the adjustment layers all come with a layer mask all ready to go. So I have the selection, and I am working on the mask for this adjustment layer. And I'm going to fill, and I'm going to fill that area with black. And here you can see I've changed the background to a nice gray background by masking the adjustment layer. So this is where photographers are really going to enjoy using masks, because you can target changes to specific areas by masking those elements of the photo that you want to be adjusted. So here we can see clearly that I've got some issues with the mask. Again, I'd like to bring that in a little bit. So I'm going to paint on the mask there. So I can have it selected there, or I can come over to the hue and saturation layer mask and just have that selected and work on it there. Okay. It's a little sharp. I'll bring that, make that a bit softer. Okay. And there we go. So go around and confirm that I've got good masking all the way around the edge of the mask. I don't have anything weird going on. Like there might be a little weird. And whoa, there's some weirdness. Fix that. Okay. So layer masks are simply alpha channels attached to a specific layer. And that's all there is to it. So to recap this whole lesson, this series of videos, there's no difference between quick mask and a selection. They're the same thing. Quick mask is just a way to edit the selection. So this is where quick mask is located, and you edit the quick mask with the brush tool. Okay. And then you get your marching ants by getting out of quick mask mode. You see there, the area that I painted is not selected. Command D to deselect everything. No difference between selection and quick mask. No difference between a saved selection and an alpha channel. And the only difference between a layer mask and an alpha channel is that the layer mask is only effective on that one layer. Okay. Now, just one last little point. You can decouple the position of the layer mask by clicking on this little chain link icon. So if for some reason you wanted to modify the mask, let's say I'm going to transform it, Command T. And, oops, I have to have it selected. There we go. So I could transform the mask like so. Don't know why you'd want to do that, but there you go. You can decouple it from the image. You can move it around. But that's that's about all there is to it. Okay, so, and then link it again. So that's masks selection and alpha channels in a nutshell. And hopefully that'll help you out in your Photoshop adventures. So thanks for watching. See you next time.